Hockey, yeah.
My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
And welcome into Judd's Hockey Show. After a busy weekend for the Wild, as you can see, AJ, sporting the garb. You know what? I don't like a lot of what they've done, like as far as the non-throwback stuff. Yeah. I actually like that. I like that M. It works for me.
It's nice. It's like a little crest.
It's simple.
Not, it's fine. I found out that I didn't know when I bought it that this thing has like a giant kangaroo pouch.
Oh, nice. You can put your wallet and keys in there.
Don't know what I'm going to put in there.
You can put a lot of stuff in.
It's a weird spot
I just
for a
like
pocket.
I like the simplicity of the M.
Yeah,
it's not
nice.
It's not a lot. And it's not like you're like, oh man, that's the Wild for sure. But I like it. I like the design. Congratulations. Beyond your retros. That's one of the best things that, in my opinion, you've done in St. Paul. So, all right, let's get to it. The Wild played on Saturday. They lost the game in a shootout, so they got a point at home against the Seattle Kraken. It's a game that they should have won, but they lost 5-4. They never trailed in the game until they gave up the final shootout goal. Then they come back on Sunday and lose 2-1 in OT. Kyle Connor scores the winning goal for the Jets in that game. It's another game the Wild didn't trail until they trailed because they lost, but they got another point. A couple things to get to, Age. First of all, on Saturday night, Joel Eriksson took a elbow in the face from Adam Larsson, the Seattle defenseman. It did not get called. It broke his nose. Eriksson tried to come back in the third period with a full face shield, lasted one shift, left, did not travel with the team, did not play against the Jets. It sounds like he's going to be available. I believe it's Tuesday night in St. Louis. Broken noses happen. The fact that it didn't get called, we can talk about. More concerning is the loss of Jared Spurgeon, who didn't travel, being described as a lower body injury, but nobody is saying what. And given the fact that he missed the majority of last year with a hip and a back problem, and it all started, I think, with a shoulder. There's a lot to be concerned about here because it feels like the Wild was very invested on Jared Spurgeon coming back and playing a lot. And at his age and his size and with this injury history, definitely, I think there's a lot of people, fans especially, because we don't know a thing, holding their breath. What is your description of the weekend, the Spurgeon injury, and how you feel about this team right now?
Kind of like, it was like watching like a balloon kind of deflate, I feel like, because after that first opening night win, it was like, you know what, there was some shoddy defense at times, there were some mishaps and whatnot, but you came out with the win, you showed promise. The players that you kind of expected to be there showed up in good showing. Some of the people that maybe we had on under a microscope, so to speak, showed up and they kind of outperformed what we were expected of them. And then you kind of get to Saturday night, and it's like, okay, this is a good Seattle team. I think they're probably ways away from where they want to be, but
they're okay.
They're a sparky team. I don't know if that's the right adjective for it, but they have some promise. And like you said, I mean, they didn't fall behind at any point other than when it actually mattered for that shootout goal. But it was like this kind of back and forth. You get the lead, and then something happens immediately back. And I know a lot of people are going to say, hey, the refs are the reason they lost that game. And I want to get it out of the way right now. That was a terrible no call, followed by a terrible call on the Brodin trip, and we'll talk about that.
Yep.
But there's instances of defense breakdowns where, they could have closed that game out multiple times, I feel like. A couple big chances were missed, but also in their own zones, things had to be cleaned up to where, I think Brock Faber played, 28 minutes, over 28 minutes on Saturday night. Yeah.
Against Seattle. Yeah, he played 28-20.
Yeah, animal. Just the guys. It's
incredible. Yeah, that's incredible.
But yeah. So tough bounce. Sunday night, however, it's just small things that you're like, how are you letting this happen? End of the first period, 2 seconds left or whatever it was.
Yeah.
You essentially get a conga line on that middle hash mark for the face-off. Nobody can block a shot. Mark Scheifele with, I think, like 0.7 seconds left to tie the game. Just stuff like that matters massively going into the locker room. You'd rather be up one and be able to figure, okay, game plan. Now it's like, okay, we're back to square one.
Yeah.
Now we're playing a 2-period game instead of just the 1-goal lead that we had moments ago. So I'll tell you what my shining light.
Mm-hmm.
Philip Gustafsson actually, he's looked very solid. His defense
was great on Sunday night.
His defense in front of him at times has put him in really bad positions, but so far, he's kind of making me, maybe you, eat crow a little bit here with just how good he's looked through these first 2 appearances of the season.
Oh, he looked great. I thought he was good. I thought he was very solid against the Blue Jackets opening night. I thought last night he was absolutely spectacular. I want to get there. There's lots to get to, and just for a point of programming too, Jesse is going to join us tomorrow. So perhaps then we delve more into the absolutely asinine notion of attempting to carry 3 goaltenders. And when someone gets hurt, Wallstedt has to be sent to Des Moines. He's sent there on paper. And like, this is stupid. Gustafsson's been good. Saturday's disappointing. So Zuccarello scores halfway through the first period. 106 into the second period, Boldy, who in the first 2 games was phenomenal. And I do think the team was absolutely sucking wind on Sunday. Boldy, though, phenomenal in the first 2 games, gives you a 2-0 lead, 106 into the second period. But then here's the trend, okay? 106, 2-0, 146. Jordan Eberle scores the first of back-to-back goals. So it's 2-1. So now you're deflated a bit. 8:15 on the power play with Brodin in the box, and what was an inexcusably piss-poor call.
Awful.
And actually should have been a penalty on Tanev, much more so than Brodin. Eberle scores. Then, okay, so after 2-2. Not the end of the world, certainly, AJ. Third period, Caprizov, 141 scores. All right, you're back up at home Saturday night. Let's rock and roll. 247, Seattle scores. 12:33, Ryan Hartman on a great blind pass feed from behind the goal by Boldy scores. Okay, you're back up. Now you're on track. 16:34, Jared McCann scores. You're tied. That game to me is the type of game that you shouldn't lose. Like, you had enough leads. I didn't think that Fleury was particularly sharp. And look, folks, he's going to be 40 late next month, okay? We don't know what to expect here. Wallstedt, I mean, as close to Wallstedt has come to playing in the first 3 games, was sitting on the bench on Saturday. I can barely contain my absolute outrage at the fact that this team is trying to get away with something. In fact, if Gustafsson plays well and Wallstedt is going to sit, and you think that he's prepared, I would trade Gustafsson. If his value gets up, I would. And right now you're saying that's crazy. You can't, folks. This is not the season. Like, if this was the season, then don't trade him. But it's not the season. If you think Wallstedt's prepared to play, then play him. Fleury, we can argue about it, but he's going nowhere. He has a no-trade clause. You're not going to trade him. Bill Guerin's friends. We can debate the contract itself. Should he have been brought back? Perhaps not. But that's not the point now. The point now is you're trying to get away with 3 goaltenders. But anyway, that's a game that you should have won. Last night, no Eck. And the problem was on the face-off age that you're talking about on the Scheifele goal.
Mm-hmm.
You put Boldy, who's a winger, to take the draw because he had won a draw earlier. Like, that's what we're talking about here. Oh my God, this guy won a draw. Let's try him instead of Hartman. Okay, what's that all about? And last night you were on fumes. Your goaltender saved you. I will say this. Zach Bogosian took one of the smartest penalties I've seen, because while the Jets did score on a power play, if he does not grab the stick by the side of the net near the end of that game, the Jets score in regulation and you get no points. And I don't know how you feel about this. Like, I'm not nearly as invested game to game as I have been at times, because I feel that this team is, it's basically the same team. Can they keep guys healthier? Well, that's not the case thus far. And are they going to be like a playoff team for sure? I mean, I was trying to be optimistic as a fringe playoff team, but I'm also not like, oh my God, if they don't make the playoffs, I'm shocked. But I did feel like the Saturday night game, that's the one at home, Seattle, you're up a bunch of times. You've got to come away with 2 points. I actually would take the point last night and happily just leave the building, leave the Winnipeg barn and say, okay, I got a point. But these are the things that I think we're going to have to potentially put up with. And so far, it's only 3 games, Age. There's no question that the penalty kill is not fixed. If I'm not mistaken, I forget the Blue Jackets game, but they gave up a power play goal to Seattle. I just talked about with the Brodin bad penalty, but bad penalties are going to be called. And then last night again, the Jets scored on one of their power plays, and that's the one that won the game.
Yeah, and I saw people, to your point, also saying like, why the terrible penalty by Bogosian going into
Great
the
penalty.
3. That earns you a point. That could be the difference late in the season. Like, it sucks that that Kyle Connor, first off, what a shot on that guy. In a 4-on-3 situation in overtime, you kind of expect it. They're at that point looking for a stalemate to just like push it to a shootout or until Bogosian gets back on the ice. But if he doesn't hold that stick there and draw and get that penalty, it's a regulation win for the Jets, and now you're going out to St. Louis on Tuesday. So there's a lot of stuff still to be cleaned up, a lot of stuff that needs to be addressed. Unfortunately, I think that despite like the silver lining from Gustafsson that we just talked about, that does open up that conversation and a question of this is not the year, but then it says like, when do you want to try to make a move? Because right now, and I don't want to dig into it because I know we're going to talk about it with Jesse more so tomorrow, but just like with the injuries that you've already run into 3 games into the year, you just can't have 3 goalies on the roster. I feel like, this team's right now, it seems like, and when you look at Saturday nights kind of back and forth, it's you score a goal to take a lead and then they just let off the gas for the next couple of minutes because it's an immediate answer almost by the Kraken on almost every single goal. I know they went up 2, but then it's like a minute later, Eberle. Then they even the game up. You score to start the second period. About a minute and a half later, Kraken goal.
Yeah.
Later in the third, just after 15 minutes, it's the Hartman goal. I think like 3 minutes later, Kraken even it up. So it's really there's that lack of a killer instinct to like put a game away, and you chalk it up to it's early season rust. It's whatever. You have to get these points early. We've talked about this all throughout the offseason, leading into our previews, leading into after the first game that we did a recap show of. You have to get some of these points early. This 7-game road trip that you're going on now, you're not back at home until the calendar flips over to November.
Yep.
You have to be getting points here. And yes, you're technically you haven't lost in regulation yet. You're still getting points. You've gotten a point every single game. That one extra point you could have got against the Kraken, that's going to be a difference maker. There's going to be games here on this road trip where you're probably thinking, okay, you had a defensive lapse with 2 minutes to go in a tie game, and now you're missing out on 2 points. You're leaving St. Louis and without a point. You have to get these points early. And so far, they're going to be ugly. We're going to have to probably put up with that. Like some of these games where they're forcing overtime, they're going to a shootout or whatever. It's going to be ugly hockey.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
That's fine.
I care about capitalizing in games like on Saturday against the Kraken. Yeah. I got a question about and a comment about Spurgeon as well. But before I get to that, I want to tell you about my friends at Park Tavern, located right here in my neck of the woods, St. Louis Park, corner of Highway 7, Louisiana Avenue South. Park Tavern, don't forget their Halloween party, Saturday, October 26th from 1 to 3 p.m. Bring the kids, bring the family, free candy for kids, all-day specials on select taps and cocktails for the adults. And then at night, Cosmic Bowling, 9 to close. This is a 21 and over event. 4 bowlers is the lane minimum, $30 per person, includes a 16-inch pizza with 3 toppings for the lane as well. And then there also is going to be a costume contest. Best female costume, $150. Same for the best male costume. Best couples costume is going to net you $300. If Do you want to join in this fun? Reservations strongly encouraged. Give them a call, 952-929-6819, 952-929-6819, or check them out, parktavern.net, parktavern.net. Don't forget the Halloween fun on October 26th right here in St. Louis Park. The Jared Spurgeon thing, like, let's cut to the chase here. Hopefully it's nothing major. Yeah. Hopefully he bounces back. But this has been my point. You have to be prepared for him to miss significant time again. Look at his age. I believe he's 34. Look at his size. He has been an overachieving, unbelievable career. But he's not a big guy. He plays a sport that's physical as hell, and he plays a position, defense, that's physical. I think if you said, oh my God, he's missing a game, I'm shocked, you'd be being disingenuous. I'm not surprised. Unfortunately, this is the way the whole year could go. I hope it doesn't. He's a nice man. I hope he's fine. I hope he can play. I hope he comes back and never misses another game for the remainder of the season. But this is professional sports. It's not fantasy land. And it's my opinion. You have to be prepared, and you should have been prepared. And again, I don't know what the Wild's true intentions are. So it's like, oh my God, Spurgeon's out there screwed. And now your playoff potential, your Stanley Cup run is gone. Well, I don't think you expect that. But nonetheless, if nothing else, you have to be prepared for this is the beginning of the end as far as his career here goes, and quite possibly his career. You've got a guy like Hunt, right? In Des Moines, playing for the Iowa Wild. He is a up-and-coming defenseman. You've got guys coming down the pike. If this turns out to be another long-term thing, or if it doesn't, and he just continually is hurt, you have to be prepared to move on. And that sounds brutal, and it is brutal. That's the nature of sports age. But we are 2 games in, and he already has now a lower body problem. And I ran through his list of things a year ago. I can't take if I'm the Wild, I can't just go down this path because I like a guy or because he was my captain. I hope he's fine, but I'm not surprised that he's hurt.
Yeah, I was loving being optimistic of, oh yeah, he's fine and everything's fully healed and he's going to be back to playing the same type of Jared Spurgeon hockey that we've come to know over his career. It's at his age, and it's not just one, hip or back. It was a combo of it.
And that's a terrible combo. Like both of them, one by themselves at his age, you're worried.
Yeah.
Hips and backs, hips and hockey, no, he ain't good.
No, and now 2 games into the season, we're already having these conversations. He's missing games. I would love it. I would love to hear that, it was more a precautionary thing. He felt a tweak. We ran some tests and everything's fine, actually, blah, blah. I feel like that's just not going to be the case. I'm nervous about the extent of just what exactly he's already suffered again. How long it could potentially sideline him. And now, it goes from the conversations we were having of, those top 2 pairings were going to help propel this team into, one, better special teams, all that stuff, the depth there. It's going to propel them into a better playoff position. Now we're going to go back to, I feel like what we saw last year, where Brock Faber is on a night in, night out basis playing 25 plus minutes. Yeah, Jonas Brodin's going to have to step up and do even more. Yep. Jake Middleton, who granted, I think I was a big on the topic of he played better with Spurgeon through the first 2 games while Spurgeon was out on the ice. Yeah, he looked relatively rough. So I think we've seen a slight drop off there.
Well, that's not good.
That's not great either. But now, it's if you look at who's going to step in, Declan Chisholm, he is coming back from, was it a sickness or was it?
It was an illness of some sort, but he missed 2 games and he's a young man. It must have been a horrible illness.
I don't know. Maybe he had, some bad lobster or something. You never know. But yeah, Damon Hunt.
It's hockey.
If he comes up and gets a shot, I think it'll be fun because I think has shown some promise when he's gotten those small bursts, but it's not going to be the same type of defensive coverage and just ability that you would have with a 100% or near 100% Jared Spurgeon. That's a blow. I am nervously waiting for some type of release on just exactly the extent of any injury that he has already.
Are you really nervous at this point? I'm fatalistic. He's an old guy with a with had a bad back, a bad hip, and a shoulder problem at the start of last year. And I mean, if you look at his size, it's miraculous he has done what he's done.
Do you think we're already at a stage where we're done for the year?
I don't think so, but I mean,
I don't think so
know.
either, bud.
It was very mysterious, and Russo did the majority of his game column from the Jets game on it. And Mike's a very plugged in dude. I don't think Mike would. I mean, Mike clearly wasn't indicating he was issuing caution, but I mean, I don't think a guy who covers the team as closely as Michael does is going to issue caution unless he's got wind of something. But I mean, I'm also not surprised by any of it. This is my whole point. It's like, this is what happens, man. Especially, I mean, I have seen far bigger defensemen and hockey players break down. It just happens. And you think about the wear and tear on Spurgeon's body playing that position for this long. And I'm sort of torn here too, because I really don't I care about this team, and we talk about this team a lot on the show. It's the main emphasis of the show, and I certainly care, and I'd love to see them win a cup. All of that being said, if Spurgeon's done, I'm also not like, oh my God, this was going to be, as I said before, this was going to be the year, and now it's not. I don't expect this. It's why I would have no problem if they shopped Gus. I don't, if Gus is playing well and you can get a good return. I mean, ideally, perhaps and it's one game, but Fleury didn't look good. Okay, so ideally it's Gus and Wallstedt, but okay, let's say it's not. I'm going to get a return for Gus. I'm also not going to put all my eggs in one basket, having seen the 2 years of Gus, that this is the real Gus now. I think there's a guy in between there. But I just don't think that we can now think, oh, that guy's going to be fine. Spurgeon will be fine. Mm-hmm. It's a lot. And plus, when you watch this team play now, as I said, it's a lot. It's basically the same team as last year. And some guys, like Johansson, opening night, shocking, was great. I'm absolutely shocked he was great. But a lot of these guys are who they are. And I mean, that includes some good stuff. Caprizov, but I just don't know if anyone's going to get in trouble because Spurgeon breaks down, or if he breaks down. I just think you have to be prepared for it. You have to just accept it. A lot of decisions. It's why I want Wallstedt to play. This is the year to me, AJ, to make decisions. You've got, if you're going to say, we don't think Wallstedt belongs in Iowa, which, he's played 2 years there. He's been good. He belongs here, but we can't find room for him to play. I'm going to ask you, hold on a second here. We're talking about the same 2024-25 season for the same team, right? Mm-hmm. You're telling me you can't get your goaltender of the future ice time because Philip Gustafsson is playing great? I'm going to tell you he has no trade protection. I'm going to get what I can for him for next year or the coming seasons. But more importantly, I want to see Wallstedt play, because I don't want to throw him in next year. You've made these moves, right? And now it's go time. And it's like, oh my God, he's not what we thought. Well, first of all, if you don't play him now, you're screwing him up. And second of all, I want to know if Jesper Wallstedt plays and he struggles a lot, and it's like, oh boy, you need to, I want to see that this season.
Yeah. This is the season for that type of mishap. And if this is a showcase window shop for teams to see, hey, Gustafsson off to a hot start, this could be the year. Maybe he came in and he's really locked in. And you know what? We have been struggling. Our guy's been hurt. We kind of have that hole. Maybe you're the Colorado Avalanche, and Alexander Gorgiev has just been, basically a black hole in net. Can't stop a thing.
What the hell happened to him?
I have no idea.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that's fine.
Interrupt you.
Then yeah. Why not shop? And then that's I think a decent conversation. But I think that then pushes into what sort of conversation behind the scenes, because we already know that they feel they need to convince Kirill Kaprizov that this is a team that
you got to talk to him. You can't. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this narrative that what are you gonna magically get Wayne Gretzky in his prime here? Like what is this Caprizov? Well, if they don't play well now, it's over. I got bad news for you. There's a good chance they're not going to. What are you selling him that's on this roster that's not the same roster as last year? We keep talking in these hypotheticals of what's going to please Kaprizov. You can't make it up. I can't go get you Mark Messier. He's an old man that works in a studio, Like, I don't understand that one. You've got to sell him the future.
Yeah, and that's where creating an avenue for a guy like Liam Ogren to be potentially on a wing with him at some point. Jesper Wallstedt in goal, showing him, hey, this young guy that we have that we traded up for. I think we're on the same page here, but it's just I don't understand the conversations, and maybe just because we don't know the full details, but the conversations, the hypothetical ones behind the scenes of, we have to show them on the ice that I don't think you're going to. I think you're doing, that's like showing a house and then being like, hey, yeah, our basement's flooded during the showing. That's there, but you're just like, don't go down there.
Imagine how nice it can be.
Yeah.
Imagine
if all that water was not there. Yeah.
Do you think the Wild is, so my question is, do we think the team is involved in this silly notion of will overachieve and show Kirill? Or is that how we, the outsiders, feel and the team knows? Because, I thought it was interesting when Craig Leopold held his, powwow with us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he basically said, nobody can sign him for longer and nobody will pay him more. Like, to me, that's what you're saying. And look, I would show him the blueprint. Here's what we got. Here's what we're, and I'm with you. I would also play young guys. Liam Ogren got in last night and it was as if, but he can't play, he can't play here and he can't play there. Play him. Play the man. Let's find out. He played last year a little bit. He looked good. But I guess my question is the Wild involved in this fantasy land of will show Kirill, or is that what we're running with? But they're like, you know what? 8 years. No one else can go 8. More money because of the term. Yep. And we have a plan here that we're going to share. So I don't even know if the team's involved in this pie in the sky. We're going to show Kirill because we're going to win now with a bunch of guys who were here last year and missed the playoffs.
Yeah. And I feel like it'd be such a weird, like, locker room dynamic if, Matt Boldy's like nudging him like, hey, Mojo, let's go out and have a good shift here or two so we can show Kirill. Like,
I'm not buying it. Yeah.
I think it's such a weird, I don't understand the whole situation. I feel like the simplest thing would be just to what we've already said, which is show the future, show some of these younger. And I'm not saying that you have to, I don't want you to force Liam Ogren into a spot if he feels uncomfortable or kind of like throws things off, but he does need to get that somewhat consistent playing time. So we're answering these questions. This is the season where we already have, one of your top 4 defenders out for right now. Who knows how long? This is a season to answer questions. You're not submitting anything as a final draft. This is your rough draft of an essay.
Correct.
And we're going to turn it in at the end of the season and really reevaluate. But if you don't have anything on the paper that you wrote down, there's nothing to like edit. There's nothing to judge off of. You have to get some sort of, we have to answer some questions. Because right now it's a lot of the same roster from last season, and that's not answering that much. We know what a lot of these guys are.
Yeah. And I'm not sure I'm buying that the Wild is involved. Like, I think we've run with this. They got to show Kirill. I think that's us. And I'm not saying that they don't want to win, but I also think that they get that. They very well might miss the playoffs. They got to know that. Now, the players aren't going to cop to that now, nor do I want them to or expect them to. But up top, you have to know, hey, we're going to tell Kirill, here's what we got going, but we cannot assure him, we're going to make the playoffs. And if we don't, kid, you should leave after 2025-26. Hey, don't forget, a week from Monday, October 21st, 5 to 7 p.m., we got Purple Daily Unplugged at Padregs right there at Padregs Brewing. A great time. In fact, this is going to be the second one. It's a fantastic time. Look at that. All attendees receive a free pint glass and 1 free Padregs beer. Must be 21 to attend. It's a ticketed event, but it will cost you nothing. Just have to go online and go to scorenorth.com/unplugged, scorenorth.com/unplugged, and sign up. I will tell you this. Space is running out, AJ, because this is going to be a big, big event. Padregs Brewing, Minneapolis. It's a great location. We'll be doing our podcast there. We'll be taking your questions. And Unplugged means it's laid back and great fun. Hopefully the Vikings will be coming off a win against the Detroit Lions, so we can be talking about a team that has remained perfect. So join us Monday, October 21st, 5 to 7 p.m. Padres Brewing in Minneapolis. And I also want to talk to you grill masters out there about Stoked Barbecue Pellets, a company based and operated right here in our great state. Stoked is the premium pellet that cooks anything you throw on the grill or smoker to delicious perfection. You can find Stoked, by the way, at all 22 Fratelloni's hardware and garden stores. Perfect for pellet grills and pellet smokers, and ideal for all kinds of grills. Let me show you. I got some show and tell here, folks, and AJ. I got some show and tell here right by me. Right here, it's the fire starter. In fact, it's the 50 piece. Fantastic, okay. Right? 50 count fire starter buckets. Also 4 count fire starter bags available. And if you're a grill master, you're going to want this. That's right. It is the barbecue caddy. Look at that. Look at all that. It's the barbecue caddy. AJ Fredrickson would love one of these. Absolutely, right? Again.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's going to be on like a Christmas list.
I'm going to tell you right now, Stoked Barbecue Pellets, again, available at all 22 Fratelloni's hardware and garden stores. Don't go with the big guys. Go with Minnesota-based Stoked. And don't forget, available 22 Fratelloni's hardware and garden store locations. And then, yes, for Christmas, AJ, you can get the barbecue caddy.
There we go. I mean, that's if there's only one thing under the tree this December.
The barbecue caddy?
I hope it's the barbecue caddy.
I love to hear that. I love that. All right, last thing. Before we say goodbye and then come back tomorrow with another JHS, this time with Jesse Pierce as well. 3 games in. Mm-hmm. Here's what I need from one guy in particular. And by the way, he was tired on Sunday. Boldy in the first 2 games. Spectacular. I need the same commitment to style of game and to playing from Marco Rossi. Dude, I've believed in you this whole time, and you're talented. There's no question. I'm glad they didn't trade you. Mm-hmm. But you're being given a shot on the first line. And I don't know about you, AJ. In the opener against the Blue Jackets, I barely noticed number 23. Saturday, I got a little bit more. Sunday at times. And you are talented. And I believe that you deserve the opportunity to center that line. But that being said, I also, if I'm going to put my neck out there for you, I need you to show up every game. Your talent is never going to get you by in this league. It's too talented. It's too fast. It's too skilled. If you're going to be given an opportunity to play with Zuccarello and Caprizov, and especially number 97, I need it every night, 60 minutes, no shifts off, no periods off, no games off. If you throw your stick out there and think, well, I'm on the top line and these guys are skilled and I'm skilled, you are going to be replaced by Ryan Hartman so fast it will make your head spin eventually. Now, I did see more recently, but I can't have that. Just like with Boldy. Are you going to have some rough nights? Absolutely. Puck's not going to bounce your way, right? Shots aren't going to go. Totally get that. That's got nothing to do with effort. I was very disappointed in the opener. I don't think I've seen 9 full periods yet from him in 3 games, which is what I want. So that's my final thought. Marco Rossi, this show has talked you up. We didn't want you traded. We believe that you deserve the opportunity that you're getting. Don't make fools of us.
Yeah, that has been maybe I didn't want to necessarily talk about it because I still am really rooting for him. I believe in Marco Rossi. I think he's going to eventually come into his own, but these first 3 games have been maybe not the best showing from what I expected. You're on that top line. You're with Kirill Kaprizov. That should be more than enough for a young player like yourself to, one, rise to the occasion. I do think he has looked at times more comfortable.
2 assists against the Kraken. He was good, but then I need so just quickly, the whole thing is on Sunday, guys are tired. Marco Rossi's a young man. I need to see him carry the momentum of Saturday to Sunday. I don't care that it was a 7:00 face-off on Saturday and a 5:00 face-off in Winnipeg on Sunday. You're a young guy on the first line. I need to see that constantly. Like, this is what's going to earn you that job. You're not good enough. Nobody is, aside from a very select few, to just show up.
He's looked more comfortable, but I think like in the past, you've almost seen that like urgency of I need to create something, but my wingers are, Marcus Foligno. And it's like, well, what am I supposed to do with that? Now it's like, okay, he's a little more comfortable. He looks like, okay, I've been given the number one center role. This is my position. But to your point, if you don't act and like perform like a number one center, Ryan Hartman is going to be knocking on the door because were talking about a preseason. We've seen them flirt with it already with different line combinations. I need him to do a full. It's almost similar to what we saw with Matt Boldy last year. Like, we need that full commitment every single shift. And I understand that you're going to have bad nights, but it can't be a lack of effort.
Right.
Sometimes you just are off. Your game is just off. Stuff doesn't happen. That's a completely different conversation. But there are shifts where it's like, man, you need to be in a better position. Kirill is, down in the corner. You need to get open. He needs to be able to feed you, and vice versa. If you have the puck,
exactly.
The decision making, the decision making has to be a little bit better too. So I know Marco Rossi has the playmaking ability. It's just I need the. I mean, maybe it'll come into like more of a form with more games here on this road trip, and that's the hope. But right now, it looks like at times he's just not necessarily in the same flow as Zuccarello and Caprizov, which does need to get ironed out. I'm hoping that's just an early season jitter type of thing, and then by the time they get back home here at the end of the month, everything will be all set.
All right. No, great stuff, Age. So we're back again tomorrow, recording with our good friend Jesse Pierce, who is always full of hot takes, which is outstanding. We'll talk about, hopefully by then, have an update on Spurgeon. Certainly talk about how long this team can like juggle this 3 goaltender idea. Yet Jesper Wallstedt still has not played here, so we'll see on that. And before we go, also congratulations to my longtime friend Jess Myers, who tweeted today that he is now going to be the Wild beat writer for the St. Paul Pioneer Press. Jess does great work. He has done phenomenal work on college puck for a long time. Most recently, covering the Gopher hockey team. But Jess is as plugged into hockey in this state as anyone, and he will do a great job, I know, on the Wild beat. We'll be out at the rink constantly. And good for Jess. Congratulations there. Age, I'll talk to you with Jesse tomorrow. Judd's Hockey Show. Thanks as always for watching.